very positive. So I think that it would be helpful to talk about sex and intimacy, and
Why
kind of
you've been getting sex?
I get too many fucking offers for sex. Now, intimacy is something that
You get
um
tons of sex. It's just I'm the only one in the room, so it's just
okay,
it
well,
is what
that's
it is.
about. Um although I did go to that sex toy party. Apparently a lot of those people are doing that in their room too.
Mm,
Um but what prompted it is that, well, first of all, on my website, it says I do sex therapy.
mm.
And I've had some, guys say crazy shit to me like, oh, are you going to show me how to have sex?
You
Or,
mentioned that the other day. I thought it was hilarious.
yeah. Oh, can you tell me where to join an orgy? I'm like, dude, if you're asking me where to get sex, there's a fucking problem, right? Um, that's not what I'm offering. So I offer help with being comfortable, being sexual in your body, because it's something that I really didn't feel until like my late 20s. I kind of was like out of my body. I was super hyperactive. I'm pretty sure I had some form of fucking ADD or whatever. But um, anyway, I also think that when you become more spiritual and you become more in tune with yourself, you can enjoy sex and intimacy on a much higher level than if are in your ego, in your mind, living in fear, living, all I care about is money, all I care about is drinking, whatever, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so I think it's an important topic to share. I was with a group of women over the weekend. I was at a sex toy party. I found it extremely humorous, but
Could you
uh,
try before you buy, or no? That not allowed?
well, first, no, they show you shit. But first of all, everyone there like admitted that they didn't have like a regular orgasm. Um, like ever in their lives, and they were like much older than me, and they had been married for like really long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like in the corner. I was high too. I had smoked. I went to the gym. I was like tired. I didn't even want to go. I was just supporting my friend that was having it. And the lady was like, "Oh, most women can't have an orgasm except, if their outer thing is stimulated." And I'm thinking like, what the fuck? Like that's bizarre. And like they all were in agreement. And I was just like, all right, this is definitely like a subject like I have to bring up at some point.
Okay, let me
And
ask you a question. Let me stop you there and ask you a question because I had another woman say the same thing to me, just
mm,
like you are. She said, I have no problem having orgasms, but I need penetration to have an orgasm. And she said, and all my girlfriends that are married and stuff like that, they can't have one unless they're having sex and using a sex toy. And my response to that is this: if that's what it takes, what's the big deal? I get maybe a woman would be a little hesitant to like start dating a guy for a few months and be like, hey, I need my monster vibrator 5,000 while we're having sex, or I'm not going to have an orgasm. Like, but you think you can, have a conversation about it. But like, I don't know. Why do you find that weird? Is it just not your experience, or you think there's something more to it than that?
I mean, I think if you consciously choose that you want to do that, that's fine. But if you can't, like literally, you can't, your body won't allow you to experience it. It's
Mhm.
almost eating food and not tasting it. Then what's the point of eating? Isn't it? Don't you want to taste the food? Don't you want to feel? So I love to eat and I love the taste of food and I like what food represents. It's social, it's all this stuff. I mean, granted, it's not sex, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, first of all, I can have an orgasm either way. I don't fucking care. But I'm trying to bring happiness and more things to people's relationships.
Mhm.
And I think that, and it could probably go either way, but men haven't really shared with me, mostly women. So I'll speak from that perspective. And then you could do the other side. Women say, like, oh, well, the man doesn't care if I, you know, am enjoying it. It's all about them. That's what I hear 90%. And I haven't had that experience. I've dated a certain culture and the men are very aware of what's happening. Um, and they're not Italian. So
I think it goes to like, hmm, From my perspective, I mean, I guess maybe some, it depends on the situation and the person. It really does. If
Don't you?
it's your
Oh,
partner, you're gonna care if they do or if they don't, you know? If you're a
or
guy, women's bodies are different, but I can, from my own experience, the woman can't fake an orgasm with me. I know that there's other telltale signs other than them making some noise. Like, I don't know. It depends on your partner. If you need the toys and things, I mean, I don't know. This is more your arena. Maybe that speak to like issues with intimacy. It could be a physical thing. I'm not sure. But it also might be the wrong person because I dated someone and, we were together for a couple of years. And literally after the first time we had sex, she was like, "Oh my God, that was insane." And I was older than her. And she's like, "Oh my God, it's never been like that." Da, da, da. So, I mean, maybe it's who you're dating too. Like,
you- all right, hang on. Did you feel like they were like a soulmate connection though? Because then usually the is like
mm,
fight it.
I think we had more of a trauma bond, me and this
Oh,
person. But she was like 10 years younger. I mean, she was like 19 and I was like 28 or something like that. But I knew her sister. We were from the same area. It wasn't like I was just out pedo and 18-year-olds, you know what I mean? But she was, her experience was dating younger men her own age from, 16 to 19. And those guys at that age don't really have a lot of experience. Like you said earlier in the last thing you did, that you've spoken to clients, they're in their 30s and never had a, relationship or a long-term relationship. So I think it all depends on your partner, their experience level, da da da
and
da.
so a lot of things that has been promoted in the past, I think like what, 5 to 10 years is like hooking up is kind of like the thing, or it's the easiest thing to do, or um I don't know, it just seems way more accepted. And like I don't really care, like people can hook up all they want. But then when I talk to them on the other perspective, they feel empty. They don't feel, like good enough.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about women, I'm talking about men too. Like,
Sex doesn't fill the void, like money doesn't fill the void, drugs don't fill the void, alcohol doesn't, shopping doesn't fill the void. There's a void for a reason. I can speak from my own perspective. I can go out and have sex. I can have casuals and have no feelings attached on there. I can do that. Um, some people can't. And I'm not doing it currently. I'm saying I can go out and have sex with a person. Intimacy with the person is a totally different thing for me. And
yeah, well,
I cannot have that. I don't have that with everyone. I've been in situations where, I was, with a person, we are just, keeping it casual. And then after the sex is done, laying there watching TV or something, they try and come near me. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like, you do not have hug access. You're like, no, don't touch me. Move.
mm,
And that's a personal thing. But when the relationships that I have that I'm comfortable with those things, those have been very good relationships. So I think it's all, we spoke with this earlier, someone's energy when you're together, who they are outside of that. And I think you pick up on it whether you consciously realize it or not. And that's just like a bigger thing for me. It's not a personal thing. It's not like you're gonna sit there and making your notes like CJ has traumas around intimacy. Why? I'm gonna have to drill him later. It's not that. It's just if we talked about it, the mental connection. Okay, there could be the physical, and you can do the sex thing, but if the mental's missing, I cannot be intimate with you. I think that's what it is for me.
yeah, same. And also I'm a big proponent of how I feel when I'm with someone. Like when
Mhm.
I'm with someone, if I feel like confident and good about the connection and it's healthy, then for me, the levels go even deeper.
Right.
But if someone that is insecure and they're not sure about themselves and there's stuff going on, like then I start to feel weird about them and they're giving off that energy. And,
Yes.
you know, and then they're not kind of in that masculine type of confidence, like leading and I don't want to take on the role of like, well, you know, I have to teach someone how to be intimate. And I've actually had those relationships where I'm like, oh, I have to heal the person, because I'm an empath and stuff, like,
You gotta
oh,
fix them. Gotta fix them.
yeah, I'll just show them the way, and then they'll get it, and they'll get on that path. And then, as I kept getting more into spirituality and meditating and kind of working on myself, it's like, no, we can't put anyone on a path except our own path. We can't pull anyone on our path. We can't drag anyone
You
down our
can
path.
show them the way a little, I mean, to an extent. You can show them the way and tell them how it's worked for you. You can't force them to do it. You can't make them do it. You can't. So I wanted to
You,
talk about this when you said this subject. It was unrelated, but it's related to what you just said. When you get on the spiritual path and you, whatever trauma caused you, whatever big event in your life happens and you start going down that road, and you do the meditation, you do the thing, and you get calm in your relationship with yourself and all those things, and you talk to people, you can literally feel their nervous energy and their anxiety. And you're just having a conversation like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm stressed at work, and you can just hear it in their voice or whatever's going on in their life. And it's like, you think that's an issue for you? No. What are you talking about? We fucking crazy? Like, no. Why would you say that to me? Or they push back? Okay. But like people like you and I, you can just like size them up in 2 seconds and be like, hey, if you try this, it's going to help you. And I've
Mhm.
told a few people about meditation, like, oh, it's not a thing. I'm like, don't judge yourself that you can't do it. You're doing it. The fact that you're trying means you're doing it. But if you're not sleeping at night and you've tried Ambien and medication and you're stressed out, and I think also too, with sex and intimacy, people can be someplace else.
Mhm.
If you're with a person and you're in your intimate time, whatever it is, you're watching a movie, on the couch, snug cuddle, whatever, but you're worried about your meeting at work on Tuesday, and that's what's going on in your head. You're not there, you're checked out. And that speaks to being present in the present moment. And I think even when you're having sex, people's mind can be elsewhere on something else. And if you're not there in that moment, then yeah, or even if one person's not there in that moment, that's going to affect the other person and their enjoyment, or, they need other stimulation, or could also be the other external stimulation thing you're saying. Remember we were talking about earlier, like never settling. If you're with a person and you're settling and you're in those moments because you're in that relationship, so that's the person you do it with, it's not
Mhm.
going to be the same as, like you said earlier, if you have that connection from the beginning, um being calm and comfortable with somebody. I think that's something. Can you do it over time? I guess you get to know somebody, but most of the good connections I've had have been, it's like, like we were when we met, just instantly cut. This person's cool, chill, our energies are sync, like, you know what I mean? You kind of have to be there. You can't be, like you said, if it's weird energy, you're like, oh, something feels off, and it's just going to be
And also,
weird moving forward.
yeah, and I think that uh, I I don't recommend, like, if someone comes to me and they're having intimacy issues, whether they're in a partnership or not. I don't think masturbating every day 5 times a day is normal. I mean, I
The
think
hell's
to
wrong
some,
with that? I'm like 8 or 9.
whatever,
I'm
but
fine. It's like 3, 4 tops.
if you can still like relate to people, you're fine. But I think when you get in just the habit of being alone and doing that alone, and you're satisfied by that, and you're not needing that physical connection, which we're human beings, we're social beings, like being intimate, like way back during tribes and stuff, like we wouldn't survive if you're just masturbating all the time and watching porn. I mean, that's not really how, you know, it's just not healthy. And I think that when things can go to an extreme, again, about balance, like if you're getting something from yourself, from your hand, from a toy, whatever, and you're not getting it from your partner, or you're not needing it from a human being, I think it fucks up society somehow. I mean, I'm speaking to American society and what I've dealt with talking to people and relationships and intimacy. Um, and then, oh, well, I'm not getting this at home. Let me go get it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, right.
Grass
And
is greener. Yeah, all that shit.
instead of, oh, well, maybe we should see someone, or maybe you should see someone, you're not in touch with your body or whatever. Um, it's just, it seems like it's becoming a bigger issue, um, across like all.
Here's my viewpoint on that. And I've done a lot of research in the last few years into relationships and different things like that. In our society, we were talking about earlier, people use the filters and they misrepresent themselves online, or they show the version of themselves online that they want to project and put out there, which might not be being your authentic self. But in this day and age of instant gratification, like you said, when we were in high school and growing up, like the only way you could get porn is like maybe go on a magazine or go on, if you had a friend that could unscramble the porn channel on cable. Now you can just go on your phone and type in whatever floats your boat and you're going to get 90 videos you can watch for free. And it's that, stimulation and dopamine from doing that. And then you get your online present. Oh my God, if people don't like my videos, and people are more depressed and lonely today, but
Mm,
everybody has, you can hit your friend up in a tenth of a second anywhere in the world, but people are more lonely and, going on dating apps and shopping for a person, just swipe, swipe. Nope. Next one will be better. Next one will be better. Like, I don't know. I think it just literally is desensitizing the world to human connection. It really is.
yeah,
It's just kind of isolated more people than brought more people together, which I think was the intention of these things.
yeah, that's really important that you mentioned that, because it's not even just romantic. Like you and I connect and we're authentic with each other. We're
Mhm.
friends,
Yeah.
but not everyone can do that, even with their friendships. And I also do that with my kids, and I try to like do everything intentional, and a lot of the times they get pissed off at me because I'm like super honest with them too. And I'm not like trying to raise more assholes.
I,
Um,
I told you that's what I tell my kids. My job as a father will be done well if when you grow up, you guys aren't little buttholes. Okay. That's it.
yep. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable. I just swear, which is it's okay. It's
I
like
try
my
not to. I try not to. They both swear like truckers, and I try not to do it in front of them. But it's everything they watch on YouTube. It is what it is.
yeah, we grew up hearing far
I
worse.
was just as bad in fourth and fifth and sixth grade, dropping swears. Like it is what it is.
Yeah. Um, but what were we saying? So yeah, the connection or the lack thereof is it's the way that time is too, like how everyone's kind of like in a rush to go nowhere. I remember
Mm-hmm.
my dad said something to me. I was young, I was like 16, and back then you could go to someone's house and drink and everyone could stay there and be safe, and no one was drinking and driving.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get arrested for doing that if you're the parent. But
Right.
anyway, I was in a rush, I was doing something, and he was like, oh, you're driving or you're rushing to your grave. And I'm 16, I'm like, yeah, whatever, fuck off. Like I didn't even like take in what he said, but I remembered it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got older and I started to really look at things and look at like how most people live, like they live like we're so disconnected. Like someone is driving fast and they don't care if someone's trying to cross the street. Their destination is more important, than the person trying to cross the street. Or like if a squirrel is crossing the street, like I'll stop. And if someone else doesn't, like I get fucking pissed. I'm like, dude, why is your life more important than the squirrels?
If
Like,
a squirrel crosses the street in front of my truck, I'll cause a 10-car pileup because I'll be driving like, oh my God, a squirrel. And like, I'll go off the road and hit something. But
right. But the point is that we're all connected, and
Mhm.
no one's destination is more important than anyone's. I don't care how much fucking money you have,
Right.
I how elite you think you are, and and it doesn't matter. Like, you know, everyone's like, oh, they idolize people, like, oh, created Tesla. Oh, he's so great. It's like he's gonna die too. We're all going the same way. We were all born the same way. And so I'm just trying to like desensitize that someone's life or worth is more important. It's not. We're all created equal.
Mhm.
We're all human beings. It doesn't matter where we were born, what skin color we are, whatever. We have to be more aware of each other, and kindness is free. And that's what connects us to each other, is like when we're kind and we show grace for each other, like, okay, I forgive you, whatever, even if you don't talk to the person that did something wrong to you, like carrying that shit around, like that old saying, like that's like taking poison, ingesting
Expecting
it,
the other person to die.
and expecting you to get sick from it. Like, no, like you carry that shit around,
Mhm.
then that's on you. That's on your karma. That's on your energy. Um, I mean, I think it all comes back to character. I think that if we're going to judge each other, we're going to hold each other accountable. It should never be about money. It should be about who you are as a person. And, you know, like you're spending millions of dollars or whatever it was for that idiot to go up to the moon. And I don't fucking care whatever his name is, Jeff Bezos. Like
Mhm.
he helped so many people that needed food, just food. Like, because we're lucky, we have food every day in America, most people. There's people in other countries in Africa. I remember they said they were excited if they got a banana for the day.
Did you watch Jeff Bezos's rocket when they, because it was on every news channel when they did it? Did you watch it at all?
No, I didn't fucking want to waste my
His
time.
spaceship looked like a giant dick. Like Google it after we get off the call. The spaceship looked like a dick. Like the capsule on the thing was like the head of it.
Yeah,
One other thing I have to correct you on: Elon Musk did not fucking invent Tesla. He took
okay.
his PayPal money, bought in, pushed out one of the partners. That motherfucker had nothing to do with it besides putting up his money. There were two guys that did it. And look at, don't get me wrong, he took the company, he took it in the direction where it is now, but he didn't invent shit. He bought his way in. Speak
All right.
on this. That was just a pet peeve.
No,
People say Elon owns that. I'm like, it
I'm
just drives me nuts.
because I know that's your forte. Like you're good with all the computer and electronic stuff. And I don't really know a lot of mainstream things. I'm like more doing my spiritual journeying shit. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, that's
No,
important.
he does his thing. Don't get me wrong. The guy's loaded. He's done some right shit. He's also got Asperger's. People don't know. A lot of people don't know that. And you know what I mean? But he does very well. He's killed it. He's made billions of dollars. Like hats off to him. But the Tesla thing just, I don't know, that irks me. And people are like, oh yeah, he did. Like, yeah, no. It was a good company. It was a great idea. And he jumped in and he tried to take credit for it for his own narrative. Cool. Anyways, don't get me started on that.
Well,
Speak
all
to
right.
this. I want you to speak to this for what we're talking about
Can
with the
we also
relationship.
say though,
Yep.
you the dollars,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going with you when you go to the other side.
No. Well, I think
So,
his plan is to upload his brain to a computer so he can live forever.
well, okay, well, good for him. But in reality, if you have that much money, if I ever, and you can hold me accountable, if I ever have a lot of money, I plan to help a lot of fucking people. And the fact that people sit on billions without helping others, I think that there's something wrong with their consciousness. And I think when we cross over, we have to look at a lot of things that we do here. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but if I see someone that's hungry and I can help them, I would help them. I have helped them, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, but that's all going back to connection, intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
connection, and feeling like, oh, I can feel what that person's going through.
I want to hear your opinion on this. When we were growing up, I'm sure it was the same for you because in that age. I knew all my friggin' neighbors. I could go in and out of their houses. I was friends with the kids. Knew it. I just moved recently. I've met my neighbors. They're nice. They all keep to themselves. Like people don't know their neighbors that much. And I think the way fear and everything and the isolation in the society, but I think that spills over into dating. And I want to hear your opinion on this. People start dating and they'll have a good connection and everything's going great and it's smooth sailing and the honeymoon, and inevitably, like any relationship, friendship, family member, what have you, at some point there's going to be conflict
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to need to talk through an issue. And I think people, like you said, you're just like hanging out and like, oh, this got real right now. I don't want to deal with this. Like next. And you just never get to have a real relationship because people aren't willing to have maybe difficult conversations, or and not even about taking accountability. Just look, if you spend enough time with anybody, they're going to do something that gets on your nerves. My
Mm-hmm.
kids, I love them to death, but they do things that irk me. I have really good friends that I've known for 30 years. Like we get on each other's, but we know each other well enough that, whatever. It's not a big deal, but at some level, if you get a new person in your life, it takes if you don't know them, people have disagreed with me on this. It takes 2 years to really get to know somebody, because if they're hiding something and they hide it well, 2 years of meeting their friends, their family, hearing stories that they didn't tell you, if they're bullshitting or hiding something big, like that's gonna come out within 2 years. So it takes 2 years to really get to know somebody. Some point along those 2 years, there's going to be something that goes down that you either work through it or you're like, yeah, there's just too much work.
You want to talk about that?
I mean, I'm just curious to your thoughts on that, of why it's kind of more prevalent now, where people, rather than try and work things out, are just like ignore each other and like, don't address it.
Well, I mean, I literally just had this whole conversation with my sister last week because I'm always I'm always looking at myself and I'm always trying to figure out like, all right, how can I be better today? How can I show up better for myself, my kids, whatever? Um, and I have my flaws, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've struggled with depression, anxiety. The gym has helped me like tremendously my whole fucking life. But I had a situation with a new friend. I probably knew about a year, and she did something that I thought was crossing a huge boundary. And I mentioned it. I said, listen, so this doesn't happen again. Let's set this boundary where, she was going after someone I had dated and I thought it was inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't like it. She didn't agree to the boundary. I was like, listen, I'm not going to talk to your exes. I would appreciate it if you didn't talk to my exes. And I was like hanging out with this person a lot. They were coming over my house to birthday parties, this, that. Like for me, that's just an honor code. Like you don't do something behind my back and then think like I'm going to be cool with that. Cause I don't live like that. Like I'm not a sneak and I don't like that kind of behavior. So I'm going to call you on it. And like you said, she didn't want to look at it. She put it back to me. She said, well, you find me to be a threat. And I said, no, I don't. I don't accept this kind of behavior. And I
Right.
don't appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to build trust with you and keep trust with you. So I'm asking you to give me your word that this won't happen again, right? Because for me, if my friend sleeps with someone and has an intimate relationship with someone, I don't even have an interest to go anywhere near that person. Their energy is like taken, even if they're not together anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just me. But they didn't see it the same way. And they were just like done with the friendship. They threw the whole thing away over nothing. Like I was like,
Yeah.
shit, she's she's definitely losing because like I think I'm like a really good friend, but because I was honest and straightforward and she wasn't in that place to look at herself, she just wanted to point outward like as a victim. She lost the whole friendship. And I mean, that's on her. I don't care because I was willing to work through it with her and talk to her and like come to some understanding. But if someone can't look at themselves in life in general, like you're going to have the same shit repeat to you over and over again. The universe is going to keep fucking jabbing you
Mm-hmm.
until you deal with it inside. It's going to keep showing up for you.
So I have two like that. I have some I dated when I was in college. We're still friends to this day, and her best friend from like kindergarten, always together. And this her best friend would literally like fuck any boyfriend she had, the other girl had, just to fuck her boyfriend. She tried it on me. I'd never touched this girl. This girl's like, me and the other person laugh about it. We met up like a month ago for dinner, and the girl was, and we're just sitting there both shaking our heads, laughing at her. And I'm going like, it's not going to happen unless she signs off, which it wouldn't happen anyway. Just don't. But it's just funny that like some women are fucked up like that. Like, oh, my friend fucked him. Like, well, now I have to fuck him just to see if I can fuck him. And like, okay, now I fucked him. My friend's mad at me. Why are you mad at me? Like, you were done with him. And it's just, I don't know. Just women friendships can get catty. I get that.
I don't, it wasn't common. It wasn't something I dealt with like a ton, but it happened.
I know other women that deal with that shit, that their friend just goes after their ex to go after their ex. I don't.
Yeah. It was like, when she said like, oh, you find me as a threat, like in the end, like the guy wasn't even interested in her. He actually like confronted her and made a big deal about it because he didn't want there to be like drama or whatever. But I the fact that it was almost like a competition.
If she was a friend to you, she would have respected your wishes and valued your friendship more than your sloppy seconds. End of story.
Yes, and we're not in competition. Like, I want to speak from a woman's perspective. Like, I'm in competition with myself.
Mhm.
I'm never in competition with another woman. And I've had a lot of things said to me, like, my daughter's dad used to be like, oh, well, you should get your boobs done because I'm natural and I don't have huge boobs. And I would be like, that's your problem. That's not my problem. But that takes like a lot of I don't know, like inner will to not conform to like someone you live with saying that to you all the time. And I was born that way. Like, I remember like someone would say something to me and I would do like the exact fucking opposite, just because I wanted to prove something. I,
Yeah, no, we talked about that the other day. And my view on boob jobs is this. If a woman does it and it makes her happy, it makes her happy. That's it. Some guys can't handle, they want to date a girl that looks like that. And then when they start dating the girl that looks like that, and other guys are staring and they get all pissed off and jealous of any guy that talks to her, you don't belong with that type of woman because you can't handle it. But if a woman
yeah,
does it because of her own reasons and it makes her feel better, whatever makes you feel good, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? But the other thing I
yeah,
want to say is from a guy's end, I had a good friend of mine recently, not that long ago, maybe like a year and a half ago or so. There's just somebody I had talked to in the past. And was like, hey, would you mind if I hit her up? And, you know, I guess he had ran this past like a few other people before he brought it to me. And they're all like, no, don't do that. Just no, no, no. And he asked, and I was just like, he was younger than this woman, like, so like 15 years younger. And I'm like, she was just dating a guy not too long ago in her mid 30s, and there was too much of an age disconnect. And she said that's not something she's interested in going at again. She wants somebody like own age, own mindset. So I'm like, I don't think it works. Like, well, I don't care. I just want to sleep with her. I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, she's also not a hooker. So you're not just gonna like take her on a date. And he just kept pushing. I was like, you know what, man? Fine. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Like, signed off, bro. You got my blessing. Do you hope it works out? Nothing came of it, but it's just like, I don't know. It's the boundaries. Then like, you're asking. It's cool. I appreciate you asking, but not knock yourself out, man. Clearly nothing I can say to you is going to deter you. And he never, she never met up with him or anything like that. But I just thought it was, hey, at least he asked. He didn't go and try and,
yeah.
ask for forgiveness later, but it is what
A
it is.
little bit more of manners than the one that I had to deal with. But I also want to mention too, like for me personally, I think like if I'm with my person and I'm really in love and they're really in love, no one can really steal them, and no friend, no matter what they do, like whatever their thing is, no one's gonna lose someone over a quick piece of ass if you have any of,
No.
right? Or if you're like aware of how special this connection is, or
Mhm.
how special this person is in your life, like you're gonna be like, is this gonna be worth it? Like,
Sometimes people don't realize that till it's too late or they already fuck up, It is what
well,
it is.
yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on like, a lot of work and value and stuff like that. But what time are we at? I gotta jump off soon.
Yeah, we only got like 2 minutes. Well, I would wrap up and agree with what you said. If you find your person, value that person, and stay with them. And then if shit gets hard or rocky or tough, stick it out because it'll be worth it. Don't throw something away. And then,
Seek a therapist, seek a therapist, seek
yeah,
spiritual support.
talk to each other, fucking bring it up instead of walking on eggshells around each other. Hey, something's off. And I know a lot of women, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine.
Mm,
Like, okay, listen, I feel like something's off. If you don't want to talk about it, that's okay. Or if it's not me, sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's something else going on in their life and you're just feeling that weird energy and you think it's you, but it's not. But people have to communicate and say, hey, um, something's going on with my cousin or my sister or my brother. I don't really want to talk about it, but that's why I've been off. Cool. Enough said. You don't want to talk about it? Thank you. I know it's not me. Like, but if that person's upset about that and you're kind of like trying to like not pick at them, but just kind of get them to discuss it and they don't want to, it kind of leaves you in the dark. So
well,
communication.
But avoiding is never the answer.
I guess we'll have to wrap up on that. Communicate and don't avoid because we're at the 1 minute warning. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to throw in there?
We'll do a whole topic on avoidance.
Yeah, I know all about that. All right. That was a good one. All right. I'm gonna jump off.